And good morning. It looks like Tony popped out for a second. He'll be right back in. And there we go. Away we go. He's coming on the camera. But good morning, Patriots. We have a lot to talk about today. I have Tony Shaffer and Karyn Turk with me on it today. We also have a special guest. We'll be talking to him as well. And we'll be discussing, well, quite a bit of things. Tony, welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes, good morning, everybody. It's not Happy Monday. It's Happy Day, and we're having technical problems. So I'm back. Hey, I'm back from all my travel since the last time I was on. I've been in Miami, Vegas, Washington, and Alpha Centauri. Decided to join the crew of the Enterprise and take a trip out to see the Romulans and some Romulan exercises and Romulan ale too. Just saying.
Yeah, I see that. You weren't at the French female UFC match recently, were you?
No, I don't know about French females. Do they have to shave their armpits or not? I don't know what the rules are. Do you know? I don't know.
I don't think they were. But do you remember the movie Against All Odds? That's the one with the hit song with Paul Collins. Well, there was another song in it. And I'm alluding to this because of the shaved armpits thing you bring.
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay, well, there's another song in this. There's another song called by Kid Creole and the Coconuts. It actually did hit top 100. It hit number 59. It was called Male Curiosity. So Kid Creole and the Coconuts sang Male Curiosity. All three of the Coconuts did not. You'll notice this if you watch the movie again. They did not shave their armpits. They were a little upset at the kids, so they decided not to shave their armpits for the movie, for the video for the movie. So you'll see that.
Interesting.
All three of the girls did not shave their armpits. That's right. So Adriana told me that story in an old Revenge of the 80s radio program. Adriana is the lead coconut.
See, we got to go back and do more 80s stuff. Good morning, Karyn.
Good morning. I don't know how I walked in on shaving our armpits, but good morning, Patriots.
Well, we're talking about the French. French.
Oh, the French. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the shaved armpit. I think that's a good policy to follow, just for the record.
So does Miss Macron, if she's a woman, do you think she shaves her armpits, or does she have to do like punching bag lessons to be able to hit him in the face like that? I wonder.
I don't know. There's a lot of big ifs there. There's a lot to unpack. And I have to tell you, Candace Owens has been screaming from the rooftop for, I don't know, a couple of years about her being transgender. At first, I thought it was a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'll be honest with you. I was like, this sounds a little too wackadoo to actually be true. I actually think she might be right. Like, I think she knows a lot more than most people do. And I think she's a smart woman. I always have. I've known her a long time. That for me was a little bit fringe, but now I'm starting to come around. So, and I consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but I thought that was far out in left field. But after what I've seen, after the slap on the plane, anything is up for grabs. It could be anything. She could be anyone.
Well, I don't consider myself.
Sex.
Yeah, I don't consider myself. Yeah. Well, I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but if you just watch the way she walks, isn't her name Brigitte or Bob? I don't remember what her name is. Anyway, Brigitte or Bob walks like a guy. She does. Women have a natural gait, and I'm not. I mean, it's just biology. Women and men are built differently, and she rocks like Rocky Balboa. That's her. Yeah, that's her.
I'm still trying to unpack all of it. Like, I thought when I first saw it, I said, let's all back up a second before there was a statement. I'm like, maybe it was like a joking around thing and they just caught a moment that looked bad. Like, I was trying to fathom how this could happen in front of all of these people while the door is opening. Like, I'm still processing this. It just seems so wild. But, we live in such a crazy world. I guess anything is possible.
No, I think she smacked him. I think she always smacks
absolutely.
him. I think it's common.
I think I'm sure she's one of those who beats up on the husband when the time comes. As a matter of fact, she does have a strange resemblance to Creepella from the Flintstones, so that's going to be her from now on. Okay, maybe we can see the main event: Creepella versus Vampira.
Wow,
That could be
I
interesting.
totally forgot about her. What a that's a deep dive Flintstone reference right there, Chris.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Creepleys were awesome. Her name is Creepella.
And were they
I
supposed to
think
be
I
modeled after like the Munsters or the Addams Family or all these famous? There
No,
was so many famous scary horror characters back then. It was such a good time.
oh yeah,
yeah.
the Creepleys were the next door neighbors. In fact, I believe the Creepleys were part of the Really Rottens, or at least an incarnation of the Creepleys were part of the. If you remember the cartoon, the Laugh Olympics, the Really Rottens, most of them
Oh
were
no.
made up villains, but the Daltons were there from the Quick Draw McGraw cartoons, and you had the Creepleys, which were kind of a variation of the Creepleys from the Flintstones, and you had Mumbly, which was a variation of Muttley. They couldn't even use
Yeah.
they couldn't use Dick Dastardly and Muttley, so they used Mumbly and the Dread Baron as like twins.
Oh,
Yeah.
who knew?
Oh,
Who
only
knew?
me, I guess. Hey, I
I'm
used to
happy
cheer for the
to.
Rottens.
Well, no, I'm happy to remember Sid and Marty Krofft's HR Puffin stuff, which wasn't about dinosaurs, was about smoking the weed, to quote Super Troopers. Just
Oh,
saying.
wow.
No, I mean, it's they had all these overt references that we'd recognize now, but back when I was a kid, it's like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what
Yeah.
that means.
Oh, HR Puffin
So,
stuff. And there was Lidsville, which is also nuts too, right?
yeah,
Yeah, with
Witchy Poo,
Charles.
which
Yeah,
was where was Witchy Poo was in HR Puffin
HR
stuff,
Puffin
right?
stuff. Witchy Poo was HR
Yeah.
Puffin stuff,
And he
and
had
she actually had
the Sleazax from the Land of the Lost, didn't it? The
right,
Land of the
Oh,
Lost,
that see
right,
that I remember. Now
and
you're see, yeah, now you got me. The sleaze sex I
Yeah,
remember.
Charles Nelson Riley was the bad guy, I guess, in Lidsville with the green skin.
yeah.
So, yes, Sid and Marty
I
Krofft were
think
geniuses.
Macron's wife has green skin for the record. I think we're going to come to find that she's
Do
really,
you think she's a reptilian? Do you think that that's what's going on? I mean, if
I
we want
think
to go down
so.
that
I
rabbit
think
hole,
so.
you
No,
I
do.
as I
think
said,
someday
Wow.
they're going to come into their room and find that she's Brigitte has swallowed Macron whole. You know, she's going to just eat. You know, it's like a big old
see,
viper. Yeah,
absolutely perfect right
How
there.
wild is
yeah.
it that she was like his teacher, though? Like the whole thing is just so much to unpack. Like, honestly, like
It's an it's an
it's so
amateur.
insane that you're like, this can't possibly be true.
This
Like,
is
back to my Candace Owens thing, this can't possibly be true, but yet it could be because, I mean, this is his teacher. And
this,
now I mean, the whole thing is just a lot to take in.
it's a story you can find on several clips for sale videos, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's
It's true.
true. And by the way, did you notice? This is a little bit dated, but I want to mention it. Did you notice that Congresswoman from Michigan, Ilhan Omar,
Ilhan
went
Oh
Omar, do
yeah,
after?
you mean the infiltrator, the
Yeah, she went
jihadist? Are we
after.
going with the jihad?
Yeah, yeah. She mentioned she was going after Representative. What's her name? The one she hates. I always forget her name.
she hates
And I've been
everybody. Well,
on
she
stage
doesn't
with.
like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. That's probably the
Marjorie
one.
Taylor Greene. She goes after. She says something about her rotting her head, and she mentions Pornhub. It's like you should never mention Pornhub, and when you marry your brother. Just saying. It's like I don't think that's a.
Yeah, that's another movie. Hey, the funny
Right.
thing is,
Wow.
you mentioned Macron and the teacher and everything. So you're saying Mrs.
Yeah,
Macron is Mary Kay Letourneau before there was a Mary Kay Letourneau.
yeah. Well,
That's about it.
Oh, wow.
Mary Kay Letourneau at least was a woman. I think she even got pregnant with the guy's baby. So
Yeah, the
I don't think
13-year-old
that
kid that
would
looked
have
like the
been
gingerbread
possible.
man.
Yeah. So I don't think they could biologically interact. That is Macron and Brigitte. Brigitte is that her? Is it Brigitte or Ben? I don't know which it is. I don't know. I don't know these things.
I don't know.
So
I think, do
anyway,
we need Jesus
I
calling? Does
think we
anybody
need
want
one.
to
we
do
do.
Jesus
We
calling? Because
better have Jesus. Yes,
Exactly.
go
I
ahead.
feel like it's the time. So
Mm,
I'm just gonna go with it,
mm, mm,
guys,
mm,
since
mm.
we're coming off
Yeah.
of that conversation. This morning's a good one too. I think it's a great way to start the day. Seek my face at the beginning of your day. This practice enables you to put me on and wear me throughout the day. Some people put on clothes soon after arising from bed. Others wait until the morning to put them on. It's up to you. Similarly, the sooner you put on the communication with me, the better prepared you are for whatever comes your way. The where me is essential to have me in mind. You're thinking my thoughts. Ask the Holy Spirit to control your thinking and be transformed by this renewal within you. Thus, you'll be well equipped to face whatever people and situations I bring your way. Clothing your mind in me is your best preparation for each day. This discipline brings joy and peace to you and also to those around you. So that's a good one. I hope it brings you guys peace today.
Yes,
brings
joy
me-
and peace. And don't hit your spouse in the face on an airplane.
And it brings me more joy than the Kamala Harris campaign.
Yeah. And
I
that's a
don't know.
lot
I
of
just thought
joy.
people used to beat each other behind closed doors. Do we just beat each other in public now? Like, that's the part that I'm trying to unravel too, is like, it's beyond ridiculous that this is even going on. But you would think that they would reserve that to some sort of private area and that she wouldn't be deadly slapping him in
No.
front of a pilot and their staff and whoever else. You don't seem
And
surprised. I'm surprised. I thought
I'm
there
not.
was
No.
some decorum left in the world.
So,
Some, maybe
Karen,
a
no,
little.
Karen, I think in abusive relationships, the abuser always gets overconfident. It starts just kind of being obvious, and they just,
No,
I
that's
think
true.
that's where it's at right now.
Wow.
And it's like she doesn't. I don't think they care. I don't think they care. It's like, yeah, screw you all. What do we care? So
now you know-
I
now-
think it's yeah.
And now you know why he was so desperate to get rid of Marine Le Pen, because he's terrified of women, by the way. That's number one. And number two, he's afraid the wife would like beat him if he didn't win the presidency. So there you go. That's
right.
exactly what's happening inside Paris.
He would have been beaten by two women. Well, one woman and a woman who thinks she's a guy that thinks she's. I don't know. It's too complicated. Let's get into something more.
I don't know. I wonder
Monday.
if Caitlyn Jenner has Caitlyn Jenner said anything, or Bruce Jenner or whatever. I mean,
No.
I just feel like
Does
he
anyone
at
care?
this point should be speaking up and saying, like, I'm sorry I did this. And this now I'm wrapped up in all of this, because when he did it, I thought it was a publicity stunt. I really honestly did. I thought this can't
No.
possibly be happening.
Well, there's a lot of can I use this, women out there? There's an allegation now by Siberian guards that Brittany Griner ain't a girl. Just saying. So the
Oh,
Russian
wow.
guards who had to search her. So
And she's still a subpar
that would explain a lot.
she's still a rank and file WNBA player too, if that's the case. Apparently, Caitlin Clark
Yeah.
is also fighting back against a lot of these racist attacks against
Good
her.
for
but that's
Caitlin.
another
I
story.
like her.
Yeah.
I don't know her, but I like her. Yeah.
Well, speaking of annoying women who are questionable in several ways, we also heard again from the posh Yasmin Croquet
Ooh.
in her best
Yeah.
street voice, saying she wants to come after the Trump family. So let's get your thoughts on this.
Next year,
hear
the
this.
House
Let's hear
and or
this.
Senate. Do you think they're going to push for investigations into Trump's family and the whole crypto acquisitions that he is getting?
Well, Alex, I'm glad you asked.
She had to turn that on.
Here we go.
Listen, so long as we end up taking the House,
You
which
go,
I fully
girl.
anticipate that we will do, and we are going to work hard to obviously help our Senate colleagues as well. Then, as someone who serves on the Oversight Committee and hopes to lead,
What's with all the blinking, by the way? It's basically. I understand why women a lot of times blink at you, because they're trying to take over the conversation. They're trying to show you that they're trying to.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a dominance thing. But after a while, with those eyelashes that stretch out about 30 miles, it's annoying.
Well, and she looks like she slept in the eyelashes, and I'm very
Yeah.
hesitant to like say anything negative
Well-
about a woman's appearance. Like, I try not to
No,
do
no,
that,
no,
even though
you
like
should, though.
sometimes you want to
she's
pick some
annoying.
of these things apart. But this is ridiculous. Like, you have a TV appearance, you're showing up. Like, not all of us look perfect all the time. I have issues, people have issues, but this is like flat on, just so ridiculous that it just speaks for who she is. Like, put yourself
Well,
together.
I got a
girl,
question on
right? Put yourself
Karen, I got a
together.
question.
What?
Karen, I got a question. Is that her real
Yeah.
hair, or is that a hair? Is that a hair extension she's wearing?
It's probably a hairpiece. I'm all for a hairpiece. I love
yeah.
a good hairpiece.
Yeah,
I see a lot of the girls on Fox wearing like hair toppers now, and on Newsmax too. Like, where
Yeah, it's not-
everybody's
it's
doing
true.
it. It's a thing.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I'm just
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm just
The
saying she
eyelash falling off there, I'm gonna draw the line.
Here's the thing with Jasmine Crockett. She probably plugs the eyelashes in and puts the street look on just when she goes on the air, just before that. Then afterwards, she takes everything off, puts on her gown, and goes to cotillion or lunches or goes to tea with her crumpets and lady fingers with her pals from private school, because she is absolutely not street. She's more posh than Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Right. I
She's
think,
more
and I mean,
posh
all
than
of
Posh
these
Spice,
ladies,
right? Is that what you're saying?
they're all, all of these ladies are suburban ladies. Look at AOC, look at all these Democrats. They're all people that have grown up with some level of affluence. They all go into politics for the same reason. They want power. She looks like somebody who walks the streets at night. I mean, honestly, she looks like she walks the streets at night. I'm telling you the truth. She looks like she went to bed about 30 minutes before this news hit. And her face is a mess. Like, your eyelashes are falling out. This is obviously slept on
face
makeup.
is puffy.
So
her face is puffy. No, I can.
You women are mean to each other.
I'm telling this is the truth. I think that she's somebody. If you want to act like you're a hood rat, you probably are, and she's probably out late at night doing God knows what, and waking up a half an hour before this news hit, and not taking the time to straighten her eyelashes.
Did you know she's single? Chris, she's single. Just saying.
She is?
For all the boys. Yeah.
She has all sorts of money. I mean,
she is single.
About it.
But, but Karyn, I got a question. So you brought up AOC. What is AOC smarter than her loofah in the shower? Which one is smarter?
The loofah is smarter. This is a trick question.
Smarter. Yeah.
The loofah is smarter.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think it is.
Coming a distant third from that is Congresswoman Delora, but that's another story.
Ooh.
Listen to Yasmin Croquet.
Yasmin
in her opposite of posh voice.
Jasmine on my mind. Didn't they do a song about her?
Jazzy from the Block, I think it was. Oh, well, listen to her threaten the Trump family.
The Oversight Committee, I can guarantee you that we will do what we are supposed to do as constitutionally sworn members of the House, which means that we will conduct oversight. That means that we will investigate. We will look at whether or not this president himself has violated the emoluments clause as it relates to, say, such things as getting a $400 million plane from the Qataris.
By the way, it's come to light that, get this, it's come to light that this was already discussed with the previous administration, as far as using, Qatar bringing in, or at least offering us a plane, or offering to build a new plane for us. So this is something
I know
that the left is really forgetting at this point. But
they don't forget. They manipulate.
They're lying.
The thing is, the airplane is going to the Department of Defense. They will invest heavily in modifying. So I hate to say it, Donald Trump may fly in it his last year in office at the rate it's going. So it's all nonsense.
That's how it works, though. He may not even get that plane, if you think about it.
Yeah, I don't love. I got to tell you guys, I'm a big supporter of Donald Trump. I'm a big supporter of this administration. I'm a big supporter of all of it. But I didn't like the plane. I don't trust these people. I'm very apprehensive about the gift giving. I'm not a big fan of it.
No, I would have kicked Boeing's ass and said, for every day you don't deliver the plane, that's $1 million, because it's ridiculous at this point. How many years does it take to modify 2 airplanes?
Well,
I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot. Again, it's just so multi-layer, Tony, right?
They already failed with Artemis. They had their Artemis astronauts up there in orbit. It's like, we can't get them back down. They're up there for like a year, and Biden won't get them back down. I mean, Boeing right now. I used to work for Boeing. Full disclosure, I worked for Phantom Works as part of the Center for Advanced Defense Studies, and I'm very disappointed. The Boeing I see today is not the Boeing I worked with years ago. Anyway, speaking of DOD and stuff, I think it was a great effort by Pete Hegseth, by Vice President Vance and President Trump, to honor the men and women of Veterans Day. They made it about the men and women, not about Joe Biden and his son. Just saying, if you compare the two, right? I mean, I think it was a very nice and honorable representation at the cemetery yesterday. Oh my goodness, I'm having a Joe Biden in Washington. Fort Myer.
At
So
least you're not having
Washington
an
is a national-
Emmanuel
yeah.
Macron moment. There we go. Here's
Boy,
the thing,
thank God I'm not having that.
Macron's
Yeah.
wife's Macron. Well, this is the two abusive women. If you think about it, Macron's wife smacks him, and Biden's wife traffics him. So hey,
Yeah.
that's what's going on there.
That's true.
They're very similar. They're very similar. The energy's very similar. I feel like, when you look at them and you just sort of like get the vibe, there's something like very parallel.
So yeah, but by the way, I guess they were both teachers, right? Macron's wife, Brigitte, or Ben, depending on what day it is. Ben was a teacher, and Dr. Jill was an instructor of dental proctology. Did you know that?
That's true. That's true. That's right. And her and her EDD.
That's right. She was very good with her teeth. Just I don't know.
Oh, here's somebody who's very. Let's put it this way.
So anyway,
Tony, since it's the first time I've seen you in about a while, I guess. Let's jump into this too.
It's almost 2 weeks. I've been busy. Yeah.
Right, you've been very busy, but let's get into this. Let's get some national security.
West
before
Point was great. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. But let's get some national security. Germany, basically, Germany wants to eliminate range restrictions, or at least loosen up range restrictions on weapons going to Ukraine. That's another, let's say, one of those I dare you, or a double dog or triple dog dare you to come back at us, Vladimir Putin. And Putin's been going a little nuts recently too. It's almost like the EU is still trying to elevate to World War III.
Yeah, they are. Well, one thing, Karyn, I have some questions for you that's based on this. I want to expand past it though. But for first off, Chris, let me point out the obvious, because sometimes the obvious isn't obvious.
Right.
To do this, they have to have our intelligence. What they don't say is, we're going to extend the range. Like, yeah, you can't do that without us. We have to give you the intel. It's our satellites, it's our GPS, it's us. So he's saying this, but it means absolutely nothing. And the Russians know this, by the way. The Russians know it's like, yeah, they can say this, but it means nothing unless we do it. So one of the things you mentioned, Karyn, I support this administration, but I think it's time we walk away from this. This is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to support the Germans firing their little rockets, their Taurus rockets, deeply into Russian rear areas. Let's stay out of the rear areas, just saying. And I think it's kind of stupid. The other thing I've noticed is that we haven't got that. Whatever happened to the Fort Knox gold thing? They were going to go check out the gold. We never heard about that.
Yeah,
what happened to the Epstein list? I'm still waiting for the Epstein list.
Yeah.
And I saw Kash Patel and Dan Bongino look like they were in a video telling us that there's nothing to see regarding Epstein's suicide. It's like, what is going on? We need to stop the Ukraine stuff. President Trump said he would. We got to get this stuff out. And what's this about Congress not accepting the DOGE cuts as permanent markers for them to cut? What the heck's going on?
It's crazy. And you don't have to agree with everything. I think that that's something that everybody can relate to. I'm looking at the chat. I'm going back and forth with them while you guys were talking. But I think that right now we're at this point where there's so much to do. We have to try to get as much done as possible. And that's what this administration is trying to do. They're trying to follow through on the promises. But there are a lot of things that are not getting done that I'm disappointed with. But then there's a ton of things getting done that I didn't expect that I'm excited about. So I don't know how you unravel all of that. But the Epstein thing is really disturbing from the fact that I think it comes down to what so many of us know. It comes down to money again. And, the almighty dollar, as much as you want to think that it doesn't win and it doesn't buy favors and it doesn't shut people up, at the end of the day, it does. And I'm not directly blaming this administration. I don't know who's to blame. I don't want to point fingers, but I think Pam Bondi's been soft on it.
Remember this. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like President Trump, to me, I know he can't do everything, but he's got to just put his foot down. It's like, put the list of Epstein clients out. Just do it.
Right. And
regarding
how
Russia,
many people
Ukraine,
that are on that list,
cutting
right?
everything off. You know, the moment Trump says we're done, the war is over. It's done. Ukraine and the Europeans can't do squat without us. I'm just saying
I got to go
that the
back to
moment we
Palm
say we're
Beach.
really done,
I'm gonna
they,
say something here that,
they
you know, a lot of people aren't going to like maybe, but I think it really it's you have to think about the fact that Palm Beach, what is now the center of the political universe, is very ingrained with this whole Epstein story. And as much as I would love to pretend that my Republican friends and people that I know from Palm Beach and people who were big donors to the Republican campaign have absolutely nothing to do with this Epstein list. It was all Democrats. It was all the left. It was all people that I
yeah, we know
dislike.
it's not.
We
It's
know,
not.
no,
And,
no,
you
we
know,
know,
and I
yeah.
am bothered by it too. And I'm bothered by it on a very personal level because I know a lot about this case. I know a lot about the story. You know, the magistrate that raided Mar-a-Lago, let's go back to that. He also threw me in jail. You know, Magistrate Reinhardt, go ahead, Google him, look him up, learn more. Because guess what,
Reinhardt.
friends? He was directly involved in the Epstein case. As a matter of fact, the reason that I hired my lawyer, who was tied up with the Dershowitz team, and remember, let's all remember, the Dershowitz was on the island and Dershowitz got a massage, but he did nothing wrong. You know, I could unravel all of this right now. And it leads back to one thing, a logistical, you know, place. And that place is Palm Beach. And my fear is that a lot of this has not come out because there's a lot of people in big places who don't want it to come out. And I would love to think that the Trump administration can't be bought and that Pam Bondi can't be bought, but I don't have another explanation. So, you know, open to hearing more. But Tony, I'm really disturbed about this because there's a lot. There's a lot. And I've talked a lot about this, and I won't bore everybody with the details today because I know our audience follows the story. But there's a lot of connections that lead right back to trying to shut Trump up every time he brings this up. And I hope they're not succeeding,
Oh
but
yeah.
maybe they are just a little, right? Oh, there you go. There he is, Magistrate Reinhardt. Yes, I sat next to Christina Bobb
Yep.
after he tried to take some shots at her. And Christina and I have quite a bit in common because we both really dislike Magistrate Reinhardt because we know he's a dirty, dirty, dirty guy.
Yes, he's filthy. There we go.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you're going to get me all fired up on this show this
So-
morning.
Again,
Well,
give him and Boasberg to share a
and
show
I
one of these
understand.
days.
No, and this is where this overlaps to my world. So we all know that there's intelligence aspects of this. Epstein was an asset. I've had this confirmed by two people now. Epstein was an asset of CIA. He was being used, as well as the Israelis. The intelligence organizations were using him for purposes of compromising officials. I'll leave it at that. The problem is this. I think anytime you get into that nasty business, you said he's dirty, Carrot. He is dirty.
Oh, so dirty.
It doesn't get
So
more
dirty. And,
dirty than
and you know, is Magistrate Reinhardt on the Epstein list? You know, I haven't really looked. I'll need to look that up. But absolutely.
I'll bet you he
as
is.
dirty as they
Oh,
come.
he's
I
found his way
guarantee
off
it.
of it.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I guarantee a lot of the lawyers were there. And I guarantee that
Oh, I
there were
know.
people that didn't get involved in the nonsense. I'm sure that there were people that were there that didn't witness all of it, right?
Keep in mind,
But
keep
I
in
think
mind,
the majority of them, people that are in power that have so much money that it's ridiculous and they become just unhinged, those people I think will lose their minds and they will end up doing very sinister things.
Well, no, Karen, I think they're all as honest as Bill Clinton. I did not inhale when I had that joint in college.
well, the most honest person.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. They're all as honest as Bill Clinton, right, Chris?
I agree with you, but the most honest person when it came to the Epstein case and the possibility of the list being released was Nancy Pelosi's daughter, who tweeted, if you will, that some of our faves, if you will, might be on the list. But for some reason, a day or two later, there was no way that list was going to be put out. So that's interesting too. The fact is, at least
there's so much.
Right.
There's so much. I want to give a shout out to, I don't know if you guys follow Tara Palmieri, but she is a really a top-notch reporter. She worked for ABC. She's done a bunch of different things. She's She's around. And if you follow her, she probably has a better handle on the inner workings of the Palm Beach connections to the Epstein case than anybody that I've met. Because, there are a lot of people that think they know what's happened, but unless you're somebody who's really followed politics on a Palm Beach level, I don't know that you can understand how intimately connected the Epstein case is to that island. Tara gets it. So, I highly recommend anybody who's watching this follow her, because if you want to learn about what really went
Yeah.
on the Epstein case, she's done some fabulous podcasts on this.
I think
And
I
it's
follow
something
her.
that
I think I already
everybody
follow
should
her. Yeah.
really, take in, because this is probably not only happening in Palm Beach, it's happening in DC, it's happening in New York, it's happening everywhere. I mean, look at what went on at his townhouse.
I'm
And
also
now
no,
look
no,
at the
no.
P
It's
Diddy. Look at P Diddy.
happening
Look
in
at
That's
DC.
all of it.
It's
hey, I'm
happening in
also
DC
interested.
and
Mind
DC
blowing.
and New
Right.
York.
Mind blowing.
And aside from the Epstein case, I'm also interested in the Barbarino case, the Freddie Boom
Yeah.
Boom Washington case, and the Horseshack case. That's important. And I don't remember Bo's last name, but he was only there for the last couple seasons
It's
anyway.
wild.
We do have a guest, though.
Charles.
Charles, welcome to the program here.
Thanks for having me on.
We haven't talked about DOGE in a while, but DOGE is interesting because, again, we're going to see a lot more from them in the near future. But a couple of things that we don't really get to talk about is how DOGE can affect the healthcare industry as well. Because if you think about it, we joked in the 80s about the Pentagon charging 800 smackaroonies for paper clips and things like that, and hammers and that sort of thing. Well, the hospitals sometimes jack up prices because the budget's there as well. DOGE could affect all of that. And this is what your latest article in Real Clear Politics is about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we are currently seeing with DOGE is something that a lot of administrations have tried, right? Even the Clinton administration have tried to reduce the size of the federal workforce, and they're doing that. And honestly, it's fairly easy. And this might not sound right, but in fact, the federal government is fairly efficient at wasting our money. As far as the amount of staff that it takes to waste the amazing amounts of money that they waste, there's really not that many here. Where the money is being wasted is on these programs that are set on autopilot. So you need a couple of employees here to just turn that money over into the autopilot. But what I'm looking forward to seeing is when DOGE hits that next stage and actually starts attacking these programs that are on autopilot. So the one that you're talking about in healthcare, hospitals get paid 7 times more than an independent doctor for the same surgery or for the same procedure. So like a drug injection or simple procedures, 7 times more money. And they do that by charging a facility fee. So if DOGE can attack this, it's $150 billion savings just over the 10-year budget window. So that one little simple program changes our whole healthcare program, means that these hospital systems stop taking over areas and we actually have a competitive healthcare market in addition to saving the $150 billion.
Well, Charles, that's a great point. So this is going to sound strange. I sit on 4 different medical boards. I sit on the Albemarle Regional Health Board, which I'll be attending tonight, both the open and executive session. I'm on the local ECU medical, the hospital board, and I'm on 2 others. It's just hard to, and I'm not a doctor, just saying, not that I'm not even pretending to be one, but I have to, as a county commissioner, I have to attend to this. But I have noticed that the costs of just the process, I mean, when you get down to it, the actual service may be reasonably priced. I don't know, because the doctor doing something with a patient using a reasonable amount of technology, it's the bureaucracy that seems to really add to the layering of having to get through the approval process. The people who then, after you approve it, have to review the budget. You have to have the budget then, make sure the right technology is bought. It's a whole Ponzi scheme. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, am I wrong on this?
Yeah, you're wrong. But, from the seat that you're sitting in, I understand why you're wrong, and I get it. If we look at Dr. Keith Smith in Oklahoma, he runs an outpatient surgery center. He's fired every single insurance company He only takes cash now. And he does take some TPAs will provide him payment within 30 days, which for him, he says it's the same as cash as long as I get paid within 30 days. But by firing those people, by getting the cash in 30 days, he doesn't have to use the same coding structure. So he doesn't need as many administrative staff. He doesn't need the same billing people. He doesn't need the same bank account to bankroll 6 months worth of accounts receivable. So while you are actually kind of correct, where you are incorrect is that there are business models that you can get rid of those middlemen. You can get rid of the bureaucracy, but people get comfortable in the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy gets defended. And inside the bureaucracy, and this is what I find the most interesting pieces of the healthcare system, the incentives are completely backwards for everybody, where the patient is never the payer. The patient isn't the client. In that bureaucracy, the client's either the insurance company, the government, possibly the employer of that patient. But when the patient's not the payer, we don't have a medical system that is actually paying attention to the patient.
That's a brilliant point, and I agree. And let me add to your point just a little bit on this, because right now we're dealing with a situation where the attending physician is not coding something properly. Now, I don't want to get into specifics. But I'm telling you that there's a big fight between the county, which I'm a political leader of. I'm an elected official, and the hospital over how people are coded. Because to your point, if you code it one way, insurance and everybody else becomes the people who are responsible. If you code it another way, the county's responsible for it. And what's ironic is the bureaucracy that is determining this is huge. I've been in meetings where you have 8 people who are all drawing over $100,000 a year, sitting here debating about a $30,000 bill. Just saying, it's nuts.
I'll make this a little more personal. I actually have an uncle, and this wasn't recently. This was probably about 10 years ago, but he was a part of a business that goes in and teaches people how to upcode, how to create more codes for a patient so that you can actually use the government and use those insurance systems to increase the profits of your healthcare group. And he looked at me and he was like, "Isn't this great?" And I was like, "No, you're costing your son and I and our kids, you're increasing their healthcare cost into the future. He's not going to increase his. It takes too long for the system to react." But he didn't understand that was a wrong way to work with the system. Now, again, I think the private sector is greedy and it should be greedy. But when you create public policy, you have to understand that. And the way to create public policy that understands that is to get out of the way. Let free markets work, because if a hospital is greedy to get my money as a patient, they're going to increase their quality of care. They're going to increase access, and they're going to be treating me as the client. And so I want the hospital to be greedy, but I want them to be greedy for my money, not the government's money or the insurer's money.
Well, again, that's my experience so far, Charles, is that I sit on these boards and I sit in these meetings and I look around. It's like, I look at the money flowing through these organizations, and it's millions of dollars. And we're a small part of the state. I'm in the smallest county, second smallest geographically. I think we're a small county, and yet the whole region in eastern North Carolina has a huge amount of money flowing through it, and most of it's not focused on patients. It's focused on the bureaucracy which delivers care, which is a concern. But back to the DOGE issue. So part of what I'm concerned about regarding what you're talking about regarding DOGE, I keep hearing the Democrats all up in arms saying, "Oh, Musk is trying to give cuts to millionaires." Like, dude, there's no link between appropriation of money, taxes, and spending. We're deficit spending. So most of the money that comes in, and correct me if I'm wrong, actually goes, the actual money that comes in goes to pay down national debt. The actual payments, the actual things that go out as budget part of the appropriations process, Charles, that's all deficit spending, isn't it? That's just money that you and I are being saddled with, that they're just printing money. Is that correct?
Yeah, I honestly, I haven't paid attention to the exact percentages for a few years, and that's for several reasons. One, it's just bleak. And as far as the money coming in and what it goes to pay for, it is just funny money in DC, but I can tell you where we're at is if we don't deal with anything now, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid fully overwhelm all of that incoming money in just a few years from now. So it's the mid 2030s where it overwhelms everything. And that's the money that's on cruise control. We have to deal with that. We have to turn Social Security into some sort of a welfare program instead of a Ponzi scheme. We need to look at Medicare and figure out how to do it correctly. And the left has agreed in a lot of ways of like creating health savings accounts. Pulling it back to what I call site neutral payments. I think this is one of the most important reforms that we need in healthcare, though, because right now we have the government funding these hospital monopolies. And in a free market, monopolies don't exist. But if the government is overpaying somebody where they can buy an independent physician, pay them more money, they make more money, and they increase their internal referrals, then we have actual monopolies in the system, but it's because they're government created. If we can get somebody to do that, I think that's important. And one more point where I think that DOGE is important in this is I think it creates competition with Capitol Hill. So DOGE can come in and fix this site neutrality problem, but then Capitol Hill can't use it to offset the payments for tax reform or for any other reforms. So if Congress can beat them to it, let's say in this reconciliation package that's moving, then Congress gets to use that savings for more tax reform, which would help create a pro-growth economy, which is what we all want. So I personally want this competition between the two and see who gets there, but we need DOGE to move to the second stage.
So I'll let the other folks jump in. I have one more question for you. So I believe that most of the funding by the federal government of any of this regarding health insurance, hospitals, it's not constitutional. To me, this is not the federal government's job. As someone who works now as a politician, to me, the states should be the highest you go to regulate payments of medical systems. If you want to have people, if you want to augment people's medical care, it should be the states that do it. I don't think the federal government should be doing. What do you think?
So the Market Institute's slogan is "We get the government out of the way." So I basically agree with your statement there. If we look at where what is happening on Capitol Hill, though, let's go back to the Tea Party. One of the tenets of the Tea Party was that every bill needed to have a defense of a constitutionality defense on it. And I thought that was one of the worst ideas to come out of the Tea Party. And that's because nobody was ever going to read that constitutional defense or fight it. They weren't going to be challenged on it. So even when the Tea Party came out, a lot of what was happening was already unconstitutional. It's still unconstitutional, but now there's a constitutional defense behind these things. And so I agree, but I think that we have to band together and figure out how to hold politicians' feet to the fire, especially right now when Trump does things that are unconstitutional. We have to attack him on those things, because if we don't attack him on those things, if we attack the left on the same thing, they're just going to look at us and laugh. Kind of like we attacked Hunter Biden's laptop and the money that he was taking, but we aren't really attacking this plane that he's taking from Qatar. It makes what we said about Hunter just seem like it was disingenuous if we aren't doing it here. And so right now we're helping people, we're hurting our future. So I think we have to hold everybody's feet to the fire at all times, especially when it comes to constitutionality.
I'm dying to jump in here. Dying to jump in here because I agree.
I agree on the constitutionality. My problem is, go ahead.
I agree with
Karyn.
a lot you said, and I think our chat's going to go crazy over that, because I think there are a lot of people that agree that, we were just talking about earlier. I was saying I agree with, I'm on the team of this administration. I'm on board with all of it, and I realize there are things that I'm not going to like and things that have to get done that are going to, feel uncomfortable for me. But you know what? I'm going to, look at the greater good. And as long as the greater good's being served, I'm good with it. Right. But one of the things you brought up is I'm beyond the point of giving two SHITSs about what the left thinks of us. Right. That's the only thing that I didn't agree with. I agree with everything else. I agree with it. We have to check ourselves, right? And we got to practice what we preach. But I also think that the left has no credibility anymore. And what you said was brilliant about how Medicare drives the market. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that's the case, and that the federal government are the ones policing themselves and pricing the market for healthcare in this country. And thank God for DOGE. And I think DOGE is going to be the catalyst to making some big strides here, Charles. And it was really good to hear you say that, because it validated a lot of what I was thinking.
Keep bringing me on. I'll keep validating it. But here's where I want to change your mind on the left a little bit. Right now, when we look at the votes on Capitol Hill, we have a really bad reconciliation bill that's adding trillions of dollars to the U.S. debt. That is not a good thing. And the reason we have that big bill is that we only have a very small vote margin. And that's because we keep segmenting off everybody. We need more supply of votes. And to get more supply of votes, you have to make an argument that is getting more people. And so I think you really need to have a consistent argument. And that means holding your side accountable when it's time to hold your side accountable, so that it makes sense when you hold the other side accountable. You have that. And then you can point out when they're hypocrites and when they're not holding themselves accountable and holding themselves to the standard that needs to be held. So I think we need a bigger supply of votes. And to get that bigger supply, we have to make sure that our arguments are always being held accountable and our decisions are always being held accountable.
So to that point, I met with I met with one of Congressman Davis is our congressman in the 1st District, Democrat. I met with his representative, with my friend Miss White, who is also chair of the Social Services Board, which I'm also on. She's a Democrat, and she's the NAACP chair. Believe it or not, we're friends. We get along. She gives me hugs. It's wonderful. And my point being is that the old school Democrats seem to understand that cooperation is necessary. My problem, Charles, to Karyn's point, is you have certain folks on the left who've abandoned even any monicum of being reasonable. That's my issue with the left, is that I deal with old school Democrats. I get along with them. I have to work with them. And even they are frustrated with some of the direction of their party. And I'll be blunt. There's certain leaders who are not Democrats. They're Marxist. AOC. Well, Bernie's always been a Marxist, just saying.
Oh, yeah.
And others who are basically they're going past the whatever you would consider the Overton window of reasonability. Would you agree with that or not? Or am I being too extreme?
No, I mean, I think you're correct, but we need to look at the right and see the same thing, that we have several members that are going above and beyond. And what direction are they going in? It's currently hard to tell. I can tell you that it's an interesting time as a libertarian looking at the Republican Party and the hard shift towards populism. Because what was interesting about the Republican Party to me is that everything pre-Trump Republican Party, everything made logical sense as far as getting the government out of the way so businesses could do what they want, except for in religion, because we need to protect these things. As a libertarian, the accept religion didn't make sense, but I'll allow, if you say accept and that's your like exception, okay, I get it. I can work with you and let's do that. But now we have logical problems with many of the pieces. And we have some Republicans who are taking the illogical parts and running with them and don't understand them and are taking that into the fascist and Marxist route themselves. So we have that circle seems to have shifted. Maybe it's up
I've seen that
on a flip.
Yeah.
The horseshoe. It's more like a horseshoe.
But either way, it doesn't matter. I see this on both teams, and I do think it's been exacerbated. I can tell you is at the staff level on Capitol Hill, and I'm going to bring it back to the Tea Party. First off, I love the Tea Party, but this is what happens when like populism comes to Capitol Hill without knowing Capitol Hill. The lobbyists could no longer fund bar tabs or lunches for members of Congress or staff. And so when I started on Capitol Hill, there were tabs open at almost every bar every night, and different lobbyists were funding them. But you could go and drink. At that time, you would drink with Republicans and Democrats. Everybody had fun. As soon as that went away, and it wasn't that they took away the fun, it's that I don't want to spend my dear money hanging out with a Democrat that I'm going to argue with all night. But when it was free, it was actually kind of exciting and entertaining, but it's not something that I want to pay to do. And so at the staff level, the right and left stopped talking as much. Add in a little social media, a little faster news cycle. And I think that we have what we see happening as far as politicians are concerned. So I think there's some steps we can take on Capitol Hill at the staff level to fix this. I also think we just have to get used to a faster news cycle. So I think we'll come back around in a cycle and Republicans and Democrats will start working together again.
Charles, did you hear the news
Tony,
that John
I think
Bolton
those
is about to
bar
become a
tabs-
libertarian?
Those bar tabs are exactly why Jasmine Crockett is looking so rough. It's those Washington bar tabs. That's all I could think when he was at the end of that.
I think that, I think they augment her hair pieces too. Just saying.
Well, this is what she spends when she's at a cotillion or at the high-end bars over there, basically, and practicing her British accent. There we go.
Yeah.
But
So,
here's another question, though. Let's talk about this. We have a couple moments left. Let's talk about the manipulation of drug prices too, because that's something that the industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the hospitals, and a lot of the, I guess, if insurance is paying for it, the government's paying for it. The easy way is to say, hey, let's jack up these prices and then lower the prices for these other people. But then we wind up paying for that anyway.
I don't know where to start. Do I start by attacking Trump 1, Trump 2, or the statement? And because the fact is drug prices aren't high. It's all the middlemen.
Attack
Right.
away.
The people in the middle.
I talked about Keith Smith earlier. I'm going to go to Josh Umber. He runs Atlas MD in Kansas. He's helped start around 80% of the DPCs around the country. He has drug prices that beat Mark Cuban's. And he actually texts with Mark to make fun of him for Cuban's high prices, which aren't high, but he directly buys from the pharmaceutical companies. And just by doing that, by going around the insurance companies and going around the PBMs, the pharmacy benefit managers, they can drop the prices to something that actually makes sense. And so what we have currently is something that's going to be the worst of all worlds. We have a system where the government's involved, purchasing these things, the insurance company, the patients, not the payer again. But now we have President Trump coming in and doing most favored nation status, which runs over intellectual property, which is one of the most wild things that could happen. The only, going back to the Constitution, the only right in the original Constitution, the only term the word right is mentioned is with intellectual property. And by doing most favored nation status, Trump is taking that out. And that's where we need to stand up and be like, no, this is not just bad economics. This is not just bad public policy. This is unconstitutional and you can't do it. But at the same time, he should use the trade, what's going on with trade and the fact that these other countries are bullying and taking away our pharmaceutical companies' intellectual property and threatening to steal it. And he did that under Trump 1. He was doing both things at the same time in Trump 1. Trump 2, he just went this way because it's the easy populist way. And I think it's lazy. I think it's anti-American. I think it's unconstitutional. And yes, we need cheaper drug prices, but that comes from healthcare reform.
Well, I agree. But I think that's the thing. So let me ask you a question then, Charles. What do you think will come of this then? Because the idea here, and I'm speaking as a public official who has to manage, I help manage public budgets on this stuff. The idea of lower drug prices is pretty attractive to folks. So I'm just saying, it's like a lot of folks are saying, hey, that's a good idea. So what do you think will become of this thing?
I think that we have less drugs. I think that my kids are going to have a harder time finding drugs to cure their problems because we're going to have less research. The studies have shown, and there's been quite a few of them, that when you lower the profits in the pharmaceutical industry, you lower the research, you lower the availability of drugs, including the countries that we're using to bundle the prices in these most favored nations. They see some of these drugs never. They see some of them years later. They already have a lack of drugs, a shortage of drugs, and a lack of access to some drugs. So that's what is going to happen. That's the way markets work. It's going to be very hard when we fast forward 10 years to point back and point at a drug that doesn't exist. So it's also one of those things that's hard to prove, but we know that if the company has less money to do research, they're probably going to research fewer things. That's just what it is, right? And so we're going to have fewer new drugs in the future, which means my kids are going to have a worse future. And on top of that, it's an unconstitutional future, which is even the worst part.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how it rolls out because, again, one of the things we have to manage is not only care, which I think is a mistake. I agree with you. We should not be in the care management business. We have to manage SNAP, food for people. How we got into this, it just drives me nuts. I'm a Republican that leans libertarian, so I agree with much of what you're saying. It's like, how in the heck did we get here in the business of providing this stuff that adds layers and cost? And it's stupid. It really is stupid. So
one Band-Aid after another eventually adds up into something that doesn't make any sense. And so as we roll things back and as we start looking at, look, if there's a Trump in the presidency that wants to do big things, those big things are probably peeling back that onion of government. And I think that that's going to be hard for him. But again, we come back to the article. I think that with DOGE moves into this 2.0 stage, I think that it can actually do something and start rolling it back. And again, I think this site neutrality piece is something that is both bipartisan and has the support where not only do we save the 150 billion, but we get the hospitals from having this incentive to continue buying independent docs, which starts restoring competition to the healthcare marketplace. Now, there's a lot more that needs to happen, but I think that when you talk to your constituents, when you talk to them, you need to talk about the way that that is going to lower healthcare costs in their area, the way that more expensive drugs now isn't a good thing, but working towards long-run solutions that are correct is the thing that's going to help out their kids the most, instead of having that sugar rush today of having cheaper prices today versus having markets that are good and growing and actually working in a competitive market.
So, Charles, we're almost out of time, but I do want to hit this real quick. Do you think that RFK Jr. is going to be effective in making America healthy again because of the way he's approaching this? Or we just a couple minutes to go through it. What do you think?
I personally don't think so, but if you look at that Maha report, it has science that's worse than the science that he's trying to debunk. I think that this is one of those things that if you're going after science, you have to be fairly careful about the science you're using. And so I think that as we go into this, I think that he has said some very good things on the fact that he wants that he shouldn't be in charge of our healthcare, that he should that he wants scientists to lead. But I think that we need to be careful about where we're going. I think when I look at what he's proposing, it's almost the same programs if I inserted an AOC or a Bernie Sanders into the healthcare place. I think we should all have choices, and maybe that is more education. But when we have a politician deciding a direction of everything, I think that that's how we end up with a food pyramid that's dumb.
Well,
or we end up with all of these other things that are broken.
Right.
No, I'm a big believer. I'm knock on wood. I'm coming up on 63. As soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go knock out 20 pull-ups. I'm going to have a healthy diet of proteins, and I'm going to go out and run later today if it doesn't rain too much. And I knock on wood. I'm taking no drugs right now. I take nothing. And I think the less drugs you can take, the more you can rely on healthy choices, the better off everybody is. With that said, I think there needs to be a start where people are taught healthy choices, because going down to the Walmart and buying a bag of a box of Twinkies, that ain't healthy. And too many kids, I think, too many younger folks, millennials, just saying, aren't taught proper, health things. So I agree with you on the pyramid. Pyramid was stupid. I think that damaged my generation. It's like, the hell, what? You don't want no fats, no healthy fats?
Yep.
That's nuts. but I think there needs to be something done to help educate people. So there you go.
So, and that's, I think if he rolled back everything and made more choices available and provided educational materials in towards the Maha movement, great. But I think when he has the top down approach that the same side had with the food pyramid and everything else, I think that's the problem. So we'll see if he makes a difference. I can tell you that Marty McCary's in there at the FDA. We have some really good people at HHS. So when I look at under him, I'm really supportive of what's going on at HHS. And I think that in general, they will be moving in a good direction.
Hey, again,
Good.
if
All
you
right,
look
good.
at this, yeah,
Yes,
if you look at this,
yes.
we need the information.
And I am wearing, yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
and for the audience, I am wearing my Warren Zevon Lawyers, Guns, and Money. That was our class, our spy class's motto. Lawyers, guns, and money. And that's what the spy business is really all about. Just saying, just saying.
Right.
So that was true. And by the way, that's our class's class picture thing up there too, with North by Northwest. We were a unique class that refused to do a lot of things. Just saying. It was a fun class. Anyway, we got to go. Karyn's already left, but we'll see Karyn next week, right, Chris? She'll be back next week.
Yes, we will. We'll
Chris,
see her next Tuesday.
We appreciate your coming on and defending your
thanks,
position.
Charles.
And I appreciate going through.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm living the nightmare right now, dealing with this stuff and my county commissioner stuff. And I'm going tonight to meet with the regional health folks and talk about this $20 million budget that deals with all this nonsense. I'm not joking. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. Just saying. So there you go.
I'd love to hear some of those stories.
Well, we'll come back and I'll tell them to you. So we'll talk about him here. Patriots, we love you all. Trixie, Jamie, Red Ginger, everybody else.
George,
we love you.
yep.
We'll see. We're back. Yeah, George is around. We'll be back tomorrow, right, Chris?
We are here
I'm
tomorrow.
back for a few days. Yeah,
That's
I'm
right.
not
Well,
traveling this week.
Yep. And Scott Powell joins us tomorrow. So we're going to have a nice discussion with him as well.
All right. Well, Charles, thanks for being here. Chris, as always, thank you for running the boards and everything. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.